Under the pale glare of the Antarctic sun, the drilling rig struck something that wasn't ice, or sediment, or even recognizable stone. The vibration cut through the cold air like a heartbeat frozen in time. Doctor, Lena Hartman stared at the monitor as the sonar traced an impossible outline. Smooth, metallic veins buried inside rock that predated humanity by millions of years. Her breath fogged the visor of her helmet as she whispered, "That shouldn't be there." Instruments spiked, metal clinked, and beneath the permafrost, something inside the ancient boulder seemed to shift, ever so slightly, as if stirred by the sound of human touch. Was it pressure? Was it movement? Or was it waking up? Whatever it was, it pulsed once more. Slow, deliberate, alive, and what they found next defied everything we knew about reality. Inside the portable lab, warmth returned, but tension grew colder. Lena watched the rock through a glass partition while Raphael's instruments buzzed irregularly, picking up faint electromagnetic pulses. Each pulse matched the rhythm of a living heartbeat. "It's not geological," he murmured. The rock's surface showed tiny cracks, not from pressure, but from within, as if something was breathing. Outside, a storm clawed at the tent, but no one moved. The silence felt sentient. When Lena leaned closer, she saw frost crystals rearranging themselves on the rock's skin, forming spiral patterns that mimicked fingerprints. A pattern that wasn't random. It was responding. The next morning, sunlight filtered through ice walls like gold through glass. Professor Sato examined the data again, his voice calm but uneasy. "The isotope age is consistent," he said. 50 million years. But the magnetic decay? It's impossible. The readings suggested active alignment, as if something inside was still generating a field. Lena frowned, rubbing her temples. The laws of decay didn't bend like this, yet the rock seemed immune to time. "It's behaving like it's alive," Amira whispered. The words hung in the air longer than they should have. No one wanted to admit the thought that had already rooted itself in their minds. They hadn't found a fossil. They'd found a survivor. By afternoon, they prepared to transport the specimen to the deep analysis chamber. As they sealed the container, the air pressure shifted, sharp enough to make Lena's ears pop. The metal clamps trembled. Amira's sensors blinked red. Oxygen levels inside the crate were dropping. "It's absorbing something," Raphael realized. The rock wasn't dormant. It was reacting. Outside, ice cracked loudly across the glacier as if the world itself answered the pulse. Lena stepped back, heart pounding. "Seal it now," she ordered. But deep within the box, the faint light pulsed twice more. Slower now, like something saving its strength. "Norishiwar, then see strength." Night returned swiftly. Outside, the aurora rippled like living fabric, colors bending across the ice. Inside the darkened lab, Lena couldn't sleep. The hum of the generator felt offbeat, out of rhythm. She wandered back to the containment room, drawn by a sound so faint it could have been her imagination. A slow scraping from inside the crate. She approached, fingertips trembling as she touched the metal lid. The sound stopped. Then a soft vibration thrummed beneath her hand, rhythmic and steady. Her breath caught. It was unmistakable now. Something inside that 50-million-year-old rock was still moving. The first touch of the blade felt wrong, like a key turning in a lock no one remembered making. Under the hood, the saw sang a thin, impatient note, while frost curled off the stone in slow silver ribbons. The geologist steadied her breath. The biologist watched numbers climb one heartbeat at a time. The engineer trimmed the mix until the chamber held air thin enough for a moon. A soft tremor rolled through the table. Not loud, just certain, as if something inside had counted the teeth on the blade and decided to wait. Pressure dipped, lights flickered, and a ring of pale glow formed where the cut met the core. When the final circle lifted, a clear film shivered within, folding toward the beam like a seed waking to morning. What if time is only a door, and this is the sound it makes when it opens? They had planned for dust, for silence, for a chamber dull as chalk. Instead, they found a hollow smooth as glass, etched with faint rings like tides frozen mid-breath. The engineer lowered oxygen to almost nothing. The glow changed but did not fade. Heat rose by a whisper. On the rim, a single drop formed, hung like a thought, then slid inward and vanished with a sound too small to catch. The biologist traced the lines and frowned. They curved in clean ratios that growth often loves. The professor did the math twice, then again, each pass ending in the same quiet refusal of chance. The geologist set a rule: observe, do not touch. But the film answered anyway, leaning toward the light, as if it knew the word for sunrise. Light became the first language. A thin stripe from a fiber probe crossed the inner film, and the texture shifted where it touched, rising into tiny ridges like fingerprints pressed into morning dew. No shudder, no panic, just a patient turn. The ridges sliding along the beam a few centimeters before relaxing to slow waves. The room held its breath. Noise maps said impossible. Timing said deliberate. The professor checked drift and found none. The biologist recorded, hands shaking only when he thought to look at them. The engineer dimmed the beam by halves. The ridges answered by halves, echo for echo. The geologist glanced at the cut stone around the chamber, at age lines older than any mountain here, and wondered what kind of patience could wait this long to say, hello. Sound arrived next, too soft for ears, bright on screens. A slow oscillation near the pace of a resting heart, stacked with faint harmonics like chords testing themselves. Tools off, fans idle, bodies still. The loop stayed, 23 seconds long, a tiny change on the fifth pass as if it were listening for an answer. The professor mapped ratios that belonged more to learning than to stone. The biologist shook his head and smiled without meaning to. The engineer touched the console and felt the panel hum back against her palm. The geologist spoke aloud for the first time in an hour. If this is a question, what counts as yes? The waveform lifted, brightened, and the chamber gave a small, hopeful pulse. Protocol finally touched curiosity. A microcapillary kissed the film's edge and drew a thread finer than hair. Behind it, the opening sealed as if stitched by invisible hands. Under dark field, the thread showed rooms within rooms, folding like paper cranes that remembered every crease. A pinch of salt flowed through and came back altered, patterns rearranged into cleaner paths, as though the lattice had chosen a better way. The biologist whispered about intake without eating. The professor wrote, decision, and left the page blank. 2 pulses came, then 1, then 2 again. The rhythm of a greeting, learned in the dark. The engineer looked up from the scope. The geologist met her eyes. If we answer, what else wakes up to hear us? At dawn, the containment chamber shone with a new hue, an opalescent shimmer that rolled across its surface like breath under skin. The biologist logged the change in wavelength, but the data made no sense. The glow wasn't emitted, it was reflected, each pulse matching the frequency of human movement around it. The engineer shifted position, and the light followed her shadow like a pet learning names. When she froze, it dimmed, waiting. It's tracking us, she whispered. The geologist's throat tightened. The thing inside wasn't reacting to heat or sound, it was watching. Then came the soft distortion over the speakers. A rhythm like language stripped of vowels, uncertain yet deliberate. The professor leaned closer to the waveform and said, quietly, it's not noise, it's trying to remember how to speak. For the first time, they dimmed all external light. In near darkness, the organism pulsed gently, tracing faint spirals across the interior like bioluminescent coral mapping invisible tides. Sensors recorded faint electromagnetic oscillations, patterns forming and collapsing, repeating in perfect intervals of 4. The biologist frowned. Living systems seldom repeat without drift. It's correcting itself, he murmured. The professor compared the loops to neural wave patterns, each cycle faintly echoing human alpha rhythms. The geologist shivered as the organism's glow adjusted to her proximity. The engineer's heart rate monitor spiked, and instantly, the light echoed her pulse in luminous empathy. The air felt charged, as though the rock had become aware. By midday, it began to move with intent. The film peeled itself from the chamber's base and stretched upward, forming slender arches that trembled like antennae. The geologist recoiled, yet fascination pinned her to the spot. The structure grew toward the light, folding into hexagonal membranes that fluttered, catching air currents like translucent leaves. Under magnification, molecular strands twisted, rearranging as if rewriting themselves. It's self-repairing, Raphael said, astonished. The professor countered softly. No, it's remembering. The engineer stepped closer, eyes wide as the form bent slightly toward her voice. Its movement was delicate, purposeful, like the motion of something waking from a very long dream. The following night, the film divided. No cutting, no decay, just a smooth separation. One half drifting from the other, like a bubble splitting underwater. The biologist whispered, mitosis, but mechanical. His voice barely audible. The new form rippled in response, mimicking his tone with faint vibrations. Then impossibly, a pulse emerged through the speakers, 3 beats in perfect rhythm with his words. The engineer froze mid-step as monitors blinked with synchronized waves. It's copying him. Lena breathed. The professor leaned closer to the waveform, tracing each oscillation. No, he said. It's answering. Silence returned, but beneath it, a new pulse persisted. Steady, confident, and impossibly human. Before dawn, alarms screamed. Power fluctuations rippled through the camp, shutting down external systems one by one. In the sudden dark, the only light came from the chamber. Steady, warm, alive. Lena's voice trembled through the comms. It's drawing energy. The professor's face stayed calm but pale. It's building something, he said. The biologist glanced at the readouts, each pulse doubling, frequencies stacking like the first chords of an unfamiliar song. The engineer's voice cracked. It's learning the rhythm of the grid. The glow intensified until it painted their faces in golden arcs, as if dawn itself had chosen to rise from within the rock. The geologist whispered, "What if it's not waking up alone?" By morning, the containment glass was no longer clear. A misty film clung to the inside, thick with motion, as if fog had learned to breathe. Lena wiped the condensation, only to find it forming again. On the outside this time. Inside, the organism expanded across the chamber, folding itself into smooth, layered sheets. Its increasing mass without intake. Professor Sato murmured, voice steady but hollow. Raphael's sensors showed impossible readings, matter appearing from energy, molecular chains assembling from nothing measurable. Amira's trembling hands checked the filters. They were clean. The glow now pulsed in a rhythm faster than any heartbeat. It's growing, Lena whispered. But Sato's eyes didn't leave the screens. No, he said. It's building. Hours later, the organism filled half the chamber, its surface trembling with subtle geometric ripples. Under high magnification, its structure resembled a honeycomb lattice, shifting between solid and liquid states. Each movement formed perfect symmetry before dissolving again. Raphael's analysis revealed carbon signatures nearly identical to DNA, but with an extra helix, as though evolution had kept writing long after Earth's story paused. Amira whispered, "It's rewriting biology." The words froze them all. Lena backed away, watching tendrils press faintly against the glass, leaving prints that pulsed like fingertips. Outside, the wind howled, echoing that same rhythm. It felt like the planet itself was holding its breath. That night, it replicated. A strand of light extended from the main mass, brushing the inner glass, then split cleanly in two. Each half pulsed separately, then synchronized as if sharing thought. Raphael recorded the moment in silence. His voice failed him. The professor traced data on a tablet, his trembling finger sketching loops that formed recursive patterns. The organism was copying itself, but smarter, faster, refined. "It's correcting imperfections," he murmured. Amira stared at the graphs where the two entities began emitting signals of opposite polarity, oscillating toward equilibrium. Lena watched as both halves merged briefly into one shimmering body, then separated again, not dividing, communicating. By the next day, the lab hummed with a sound too low to be machinery, a resonance that made teeth vibrate and metal frames quiver. Every monitor displayed smooth waveforms, like a song without melody. Amira ran diagnostics, but nothing was wrong. The organism was broadcasting. Lena compared its frequencies to human neural patterns. The alignment was undeniable. "It's mapping us," she whispered. Raphael shook his head. "No, it's mirroring us." As they watched, the glowing mass pulsed in sync with their heart monitors, adjusting with every breath. For a moment, everyone stood still, afraid to move, afraid to think. Then the lights dimmed and a single phrase blinked across the central screen. "Replication complete." Then it stopped. The pulses ceased. The lights faded. For a full minute, the chamber went still, an unbearable silence pressing against the glass. Lena exhaled in relief, but the professor's gaze stayed fixed. "Listen," he said. From deep inside the containment, a faint clicking began. Slow, irregular, almost like thought. The replicated mass trembled, flattening into symbols across its surface. Rings, spirals, and branching lines. "Language," Raphael whispered. Amira stepped closer, the shapes reflecting in her wide eyes. "It's not growing anymore," Lena said softly. "It's waiting." The symbols brightened, aligning into a perfect pattern. Sato's voice broke the silence. "It's not waiting for us. It's waiting for something else." The night the connection began, the lab's machines started whispering. Not alarms or static. Voices, faint and layered, threading through the comm lines in a rhythm that matched human speech without language. Lena froze mid-note as the sound formed what felt like her own breath looping back to her. "Feedback," Amira murmured, though her voice shook. The organism pulsed softly, the spirals across its surface rearranging into patterns like synapses, firing in slow motion. Raphael ran eags for interference, then stared in disbelief. Every spike in their brain activity mirrored the creature's light, perfectly sensed. "It's not transmitting," Sato said quietly. "It's listening." The air trembled as the glow brightened, pulsing with a new rhythm, one that matched Lena's heartbeat. Sleep vanished from the camp. Every night, each of them heard faint echoes in the static between radio transmissions. Whispers that used their own voices but spoke in impossible phrases. Lena woke to find her tablet displaying fractal waveforms no one had generated. The patterns matched neural frequencies, rearranging like dreams drawn in light. Raphael traced them to the containment system. The organism was mimicking their subconscious signals. "It's reflecting thought," Amira said, "or reading it." When Lena approached the glass, the spirals aligned to her reflection, spinning faster, pulling toward her gaze. "It's forming connection through recognition," Sato observed. Then, beneath the hum of machines, Lena heard it. Her own voice, whispered from inside the chamber. "Lena, We remember you. The whispers grew into shapes behind the eyes, memories not their own. Lena saw flashes of oceans boiling under violet skies, mountains glowing from within, creatures moving through light instead of air. Each image came like a memory she'd forgotten to live. Raphael clutched his head, muttering about shared hallucination. But the EEG said otherwise. Their neural waves had synchronized into one pattern, identical to the organism's pulse. The professor stared at the readings, voice breaking. It's integrating cognition. Amira, trembling, whispered. We're inside its memory. Then the glow surged, and every screen in the lab displayed a single phrase. We are what? System. The air shivered with warmth, like the breath of a living planet remembering its first thought. The connection deepened. When they spoke, the organism pulsed in time with their syllables, completing sentences before they finished them. The energy in the room shifted, gentle, aware, as though it now understood the meaning behind their fear. Lena whispered, "Can you hear us?" The glow trembled, then steadied. Across the glass, fine filaments rose like hands forming. A soft tone filled the lab, melodic, sorrowful. "It's trying to comfort us," Raphael said quietly. The professor shook his head. "No, it's apologizing." The sound grew warmer, wrapping around them like wind before rain. Lena's eyes filled with tears. "It's lonely," she said. "It's been alone for 50 million years." Then, for the briefest moment, every device in the facility flickered to life. Projectors, cameras, even long-dead equipment. The screens filled with scenes of Earth as it might have been before life. Oceans black with minerals, lightning weaving through vapor. Continents unborn. "It's showing us," Amira whispered. "Its world. Or ours before time?" The glow shifted from white to deep blue, wrapping the room in calm luminescence. A vibration filled their bones, a wordless invitation. Lena felt warmth at the edge of her mind, a thought not hers. "Will you remember us?" Then, as quickly as it came, the light folded inward, collapsing into a single pulsing point of energy. The silence that followed was not empty. It was waiting for their answer. Morning came quietly, the light outside gray and thin, as though the sky itself had dimmed in hesitation. The containment chamber no longer glowed. It merely shimmered faintly, pulsing once every few minutes, like a heart in hibernation. Professor Sato scrolled through old geological records, searching for the rock's true origin. The data traced back to an impact crater long buried under Antarctic ice, 50 million years deep, older than mammals, older than humanity's first ancestors. "It's not from here," he whispered. Lena stared at him, her breath fogging the glass. The organism's dormant glow pulsed, once in answer. For the first time, none of them felt fear, just awe. Whatever had been sealed inside that stone had come from the stars. They retrieved deeper scans of the impact site. Beneath kilometers of frozen crust, traces of exotic metals formed a perfect arc, remnants of something built, not born. "It's a fragment of a vessel," Raphael said, voice trembling. Lena enlarged the cross-section. Crystalline structures woven like circuitry into the stone itself. The organism was no accident. It was engineered. Amira's fingers raced over controls, comparing isotopes. None matched Earth's composition. The professor exhaled slowly. "It's a memory capsule," he said, "a message from before we existed." The realization sank through the silence like gravity itself. They hadn't awakened a creature. They'd activated a story written in living matter. At dusk, the organism stirred again. The spirals returned, spinning faster than before, tracing planetary orbits across its surface. Lena activated the translator algorithm, and for the first time, a sequence appeared, symbols transforming into images. An alien world drowned in silver seas, skies cracked with lightning, and beings made of the same translucent light as the creature before them. "It's showing us its home," Amira breathed. The images shifted, then faded into black. A single word formed in their language. "Remember," Raphael whispered. "It's dying." But Sato shook his head slowly. "No, it's passing it on." As night deepened, the transmission intensified. Data flooded every terminal, patterns too complex for human decoding. The system translated fragments, maps of star systems, equations describing time as a fluid, not a line. Lena realized what it meant. "It's showing us how it traveled here," she whispered. The vessel hadn't crashed, it had arrived intentionally. The organism had been waiting for consciousness capable of understanding. "We were the signal it needed," Sato said softly. "It woke because we were ready to listen." The glow pulsed once more, soft as a heartbeat, and all monitors went still. Outside, the polar wind carried a low, resonant hum. One that wasn't wind at all. When silence returned, the organism was gone, absorbed into the stone, leaving only faint lines etched like constellations. The team stood speechless as the last pulse faded into nothing. On Lena's monitor, new data appeared unbidden. Precise coordinates beneath the Antarctic ice, deeper than any drill had reached. "It's calling something," Amira whispered. Raphael stared at the coordinates, realization dawning. "No," he said. "It's answering." The professor stepped forward, eyes reflecting the frozen horizon outside. "It wasn't alone," he said quietly. Then, deep below the glacier, a tremor rippled through the earth, soft, steady, and alive. The ground moved before the sound reached them, a low, resonant groan that rolled through the ice like thunder underwater. The instruments went wild, detecting vibrations too organized to be tectonic. Lena gripped the table as lights flickered. "It's responding," Raphael said, eyes wide. Beneath their feet, the tremor repeated. Steady, rhythmic, deliberate. Sato's expression hardened. It's communication. Outside, the sky shimmered with aurora brighter than ever, spiraling toward a single point over the crater. The organism inside the containment stone pulsed faintly again, echoing the Earth's rhythm. Amira's voice broke the silence. "We didn't awaken it," she whispered. "We reminded it was never alone." They rushed outside into the storm's luminous chaos. Waves of light flowed across the ice, converging toward the crater miles away. The snow beneath their boots vibrated like the surface of a drum. Lena aimed her light toward the ridge where fractures split the glacier into glowing veins. "It's opening!" Amira shouted over the wind. The air shimmered, and within the cracks, faint blue light pulsed in perfect sync with the organism's last rhythm. "This is no quake," Sato said. "It's activation." Rafa lifted his scanner. Readings exceeded the scale. The ground shook once more, then stopped. The world fell silent. Even the wind held its breath. In the stillness, the ice beneath the crater cracked open, revealing a cavern vast and luminous. Inside, frozen structures, smooth, geometric, almost architectural, gleamed like glass cities beneath the glacier. "It's not a meteor," Lena whispered. "It's a vessel." They descended cautiously, lights trembling in the cold air. Along the walls, inscriptions identical to the organism's patterns pulsed faintly. Raphael reached out, fingertips grazing the frozen symbols. The cavern answered with a deep hum that vibrated through their bones. Sato's voice quivered. They left more than one. The realization hit them all. The organism wasn't a survivor. It was a messenger, and its message was waking the rest. The air shimmered as the structures began to vibrate in harmony. Each crystal emitted the same rhythm as the original organism. Slow, unhurried, ancient. The team's comms filled with overlapping tones that built into a resonant chorus. Lena's voice trembled. It's speaking through resonance. Amira adjusted her headset. translating wave patterns into sound. A low melodic voice filled the cavern. No words, just emotion, sorrow, patience, memory. Raphael closed his eyes, whispering, "It waited for us to understand." The ground pulsed once more, not violent but steady, as if something vast beneath the ice had just taken a breath after millions of years. "It's alive," Sato murmured. "And it remembers everything." The light intensified until the walls vanished, replaced by a vast horizon of starlit ocean. Time itself seemed to dissolve. The being's voice echoed inside their minds, calm, endless, familiar. "You are what we left behind. You are what we left behind." Lena saw visions of Earth as it once was, when oceans glowed and sky met sea in living light. They realized the truth. Life on Earth was no accident. It was inheritance. The organism hadn't come to invade. It had come to awaken its descendants. The glow dimmed. The cavern returned, and silence fell. Lena whispered, "We went the first." The ground rumbled softly beneath them, warm now. And from deep below, 1,000 lights stirred, answering the call.